Hi people, Marino Ravenberg here again. This is going to be a short video as well, and in it, as the header suggests, I'm simply going to discuss how everything comes at the cost of something else, and nothing in this world is free. This is something that is quite often overlooked by people in general, as superficial as globally speaking society is. So as superficial as global society is, people only care about seeing the good. They only care about seeing the good, they only care about seeing all the good things that the world has to offer or someone has to offer in terms of achievements and whatnot. But people rarely focus, not that you have to focus even, but people rarely pay attention, even the briefest of attentions, to what it took to get to that point. As the saying goes, everybody wants to be rich and successful until they see what it takes. Everybody wants to, for example, be a so-called superstar. Everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to be like a celebrity until they see what it takes. But people never talk about stuff like that. And something that I've told people numerous times, it accounts for everyone. Most people that know me also know that for me, it accounts like it rings no truer than anything you can imagine. So that also applies to me, that applies to everything. But this is a basic concept. Nothing in this world is free. Everything comes at the cost of something else. We're not talking about specifically a cost in the way of financial, compensation, as in having to pay for something through money. But it comes at the cost of something else. World famous actors and actresses, for example, people that are trendsetters within global society, people that have accomplished something noteworthy in their lives. None of that came falling out of the sky. It didn't come falling in their lap. I'm pretty sure that guys like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs did not just invent Apple and Microsoft just like that. It didn't fall into their laps. No, I'm not completely sure about this, so I'm just saying. But that still doesn't change the point that I'm making here. I think they at least had to spend 10 to 15 years, so up to a decade or a decade and a half, in their parents' basements or grandparents' basements like nerds as teenagers, before they actually invented a working patent of what are now known as Apple and Microsoft products. And even if that's not literally the case, it's something similar. The situation has to be something similar. I'm not entirely sure, so I'm not going to say that this is always the case, but generally speaking, this rule is simply the case by default. Nothing. Okay? Same thing. World famous actors and actresses. Why do you think that you see so often that celebrities, people that are either artists, musical artists, or artists on the white screen, actors, actresses, that sometimes they have breakdowns, as in they lose their minds, so to speak, the way society likes to label it. They've gone insane, they've lost their minds, etc. Stuff like that doesn't just happen out of the blue. It's due to the tremendous pressure that comes with being who they are. Another example that I can give is Michael Jackson, for example. Michael Jackson, everyone knows Michael Jackson. That's how big of a deal he is. He's known as the king of pop globally. Doesn't matter whether you can go to Afghanistan. Afghans will know Michael Jackson. Not every Afghan, but the majority of them will know Michael Jackson. That is my point. When Michael Jackson died, people globally mourned his death. But my point is that at a certain point in Michael Jackson's life, he was called Wacko Jacko, right? That's where we all know it, Michael Jackson lost his mind, at least in terms, a mental breakdown, better said, in terms of what news sources reported to us. Aside from the fact that he was seen as more of a woman, as in a crude way, he wasn't really seen as a guy due to the numerous surgeries. To the point where he didn't even look human anymore. That part where he held that baby over a balcony, and what else? He also had Neverland and was rumored to be a pedophile or had pedophilic tendencies, that he enjoyed being with children. I don't know if it's sexually, you name it, okay? Bottom line is that's shortly summed up what Michael Jackson's, what the negative aspects of his life were. And stuff like this didn't happen out of the blue. That's my point. Michael Jackson might have been the king of pop, but that's the price that it came. That was the price that he had to pay for being the king of pop. All of that stuff happened. All of that stuff simply happened due to the tremendous mental pressure that came associated with him. Of course, people always, like I said, people always want to show the positive side of things, nothing but the positivity. I'm not saying that you should promote negativity, but I'm simply saying that you should display things the way they are. People never discuss the negative aspects of Michael Jackson's life. He's the king of pop, but yeah, that's all. This boils down to the simplest of things. Okay, travel bureaus will advertise travel locations in certain countries. And they'll literally try to take a country that is minuscule, to say the least, and they'll try to make it come off as one tremendous paradise. They'll take a simple country that no one knows and they'll try to turn it into the ultra version of the Bahamas. Of course, their motivation is clear. It's pretty much misdirection. It almost borders on fraud. They only care about selling tickets, that travel bureau or travel company, and it's only when you actually show up there is that you see that, hey, and it's like the travel bureau says, haha, gotcha. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses do this, okay? You need to really be alert to not be misdirected or outright lied to. But rarely do you see an establishment showing things the way it is. And nah, I'm not a fan of that. With me, it's showing things the way they are. If something is good, it's good. If something is bad, it's bad. But I'm not just going to focus on the so-called positive and ignore the negative. I'm not saying that you have to glorify or lay heavy emphasis on the negative, but I am saying that you need to acknowledge it because it's reality. Point is that nothing in this world is free. Everything comes at the cost of something else, okay? Everything, majority stockholders of companies, you name it, CEOs that start companies from nothing, ask them what it took. World famous actors and actresses, ask them what it took to get where they're at, and you'll hear it. Of course, they won't divulge anything superficially, but once you really get to know them and you really dig deep into their lives, so to speak, whether you have to dig for the information yourself or whether they freely, willingly share that information with you, you'll hear it. You'll hear the tremendous, numerous, almost countless sacrifices they had to make. And for them, usually it's more often than not they become emotional because it's a heavy load to carry, And when you think about all the stuff that you've been through, if you're one of them, and all of the sacrifices, all of the bullets you had to bite in order to get where you're at, just because you're so ambitious and just because it means so much to you, then usually the average person would become emotional, or most people will become emotional. It's not something, if I found myself in a similar position, even I would become emotional as well, but with me it's a different matter altogether, more or less. But I'm also privy to becoming emotional or to be emotional when it comes to that. Bottom line is that you'll hear a bunch of things. You'll hear how they had to alienate family, how they destroyed marriages, or how their ambitions to get where they're at destroyed marriages, how they alienated their children perhaps, how they gave up numerous things, and how they sacrificed so much, and how they had to swallow their pride so many times and just straight out take shit from people, okay, or have people shit on them in order to get where they're at, just for the sake of progress, for the sake of ambition, for the sake of accomplishing the success that they had envisioned for themselves, because that's how much success meant to them. That's what I'm talking about. So just keep that in mind, okay? Nothing in this world is free. Everything comes at the cost of something. Nothing that's worth doing or nothing that has true value is easy to accomplish. All of it comes at a counter price, okay, and that counter price is a heavy burden to bear and or a heavy pill to swallow. How heavy it is or how heavy it is all depends on your level of ambition in relation to your objective or goal. But usually the heavier the objective in terms of magnitude, the heavier the burden. And that's the way God has created the world. It all balances itself out. So yeah, that's it. Just keep that in mind. See you guys later. Bye.